Strategy is if you make it illegal to hire
it is illegal.
illegal immigrants, that they will be forced to either become citizen, go through the right channels, and go home. But what are they saying? There's 12 to 20 million illegals in this country, which has gotten way out of hand for the last 30 years. The ones who left not to go home for one reason or another, what is your plan? They deport.
It's the law.
It's the law. Now, my wife and I are snowbirds, so we go to Arizona every winter. And I was telling your staff member, there's some streets in Chandler, Mesa, in the mornings, they just lined up. It's like a parade, and they're running word. Now, apparently, at one time, the Chandler Police Department, or ICE, tried to round up some illegals. Well, in the process, they ended up arresting some legal residents.
Yeah, that's why they can't. That's why today, even if you have a parade and it says this is a parade of illegal immigrant parade, and everybody just you still can't do anything about it because they say, well, there might be somebody in there who isn't, and you can't make this general assumption that everybody is. I mean, I used to tell them every time May Day when they had these massive parades all over, I used to say, bring the buses, I mean, they got them all. Or I'll tell you another place that was always annoying to me. I'd drive by the Mexican consulate after they started handing out. Now, I used to drive by it every day on my way to work in Denver, and there's never anybody there. Then they made these decisions to start handing out this thing called the Matricula Consular card. And this card is simply given to you by it's not just Mexico, but primarily now by the Mexican consulate. But it's given to any national in someone else's country by that country's their country's consular office, and it's an ID for them. Then they go around. The consular officer goes around and tries to lobby the cities and the police department and everybody to take the card as an identification card. So there's only one person that needs this card. Only one. Because if you're here legally, you have identification. It's something we've given you, right? A visa, something. Only one person needs a Matricula Consular card. That's someone who's here illegally. Well, the day after they started handing them out, there's a line going way down the street, and it was that way every day, day after day after day after day. And so I called the local ICE guy, and I said, "Hey, here's another opportunity." Well, we'll look into it, they said, and they called me back about a week later and said, "Well, you just can't be sure that every single one of them is. Therefore, you can't go there and make this assumption." But what you will see, I think, is it will get tougher and tougher. Arizona has passed some very tough laws. They're about to put, and she just signed. Goes to show you now. This is a great example, guys, of what's happening on this issue. I find all of my colleagues running for the presidency have now become strong border control advocates. This is a brand new position for many of them, especially Rudy. I mean, you should have seen how. I mean, he fought to keep New York a sanctuary city I took it to the Supreme. I mean, said he would not enforce it if we tried to stop him from having a sanctuary city. And they had this horrible event, just terrible. 5 people attacked this girl who was jogging in the park, and it was brutal rape, and 4 of them were illegals illegals that had come in, had gotten into trouble before, that were turned over to ICE, and so that it changed a little bit in New York. That changed it itself. I mean, the people actually did, which is kind of forced it, but it's back to square one now. And but you will see, and Arizona is going to be a good model, because here's a state, a huge Hispanic population, first of all. Of course, many illegal aliens. Passing all of these initiatives, cracking down, English only, all this stuff, 47% of the people, 47% of the Hispanics voted for it. I mean, the idea that all these people, we'll lose all these folks if we actually try to enforce the law, we'll lose them, meaning the Republicans. We will lose some, it's true, but the reality is that it's not a monolithic bloc. I mean, blacks generally vote in very, very, like 90-some%, 93, 94% Democrat, and have just for a long, long time. But it's not like that with Hispanic Americans. They really are. They are not monolithic in their voting patterns, and we will get a share, and for the most part we'll do fine. But Arizona is going to be a great test of this, because the federal government has failed in so many ways, and it's now up to the cities to do, and states. And they're taking up this responsibility. Some are going Arizona's way, which is good. Some are going the other way, these sanctuary city things, which are terrible. Tacoma, Washington, where this guy, this most recent horrible event where they raped and killed a little girl, 12 years old. Of course, he was an immigrant he was a legal immigrant, but had committed these crimes before. Had been taken in, punished, and at that point in time, you're supposed to be deported, right? They never reported it to ICE because of their policies. And of course, he just went on doing the things he did.
Can I ask, what is your understanding of why we have the policy of any child born in the United States of an illegal immigrant, whether it's Mexican or any other country, why they automatically become a U.S. citizen?
It's because of the interpretation of a court at some point in time of the 14th Amendment. It's never been taken to the Supreme Court, but it's just an interpretation. There's no law. It's a simple interpretation of the 14th Amendment, and it's an incorrect interpretation. I introduced a bill on Thursday last week, and it had 12 different points, because I wanted people to say, when people say, well, you fill that Senate bill, and now what are you going to do? It's dead, And so we're finished. You want, and the truth is no. I introduced a piece of legislation that is truly immigration reform. One part of it is takes that away. Now it will be challenged immediately. Of course, if we were able to pass, and I won't be. I mean, there is no way that I'll be able to pass it by word. There's no way that it wouldn't go directly into a court proceeding. But I think that if we have a good chance of getting it held, getting it to be held, upheld, because you look at any interpretation of the 14th Amendment, and it's hard to understand how anybody came up with this idea of that's called anchor baby. That phenomenon you talk about, anchor baby, because it sort of anchors the family, which is why they come oftentimes even to have the baby here. Last year, 300,000 were born. 300,000 kids under that category. But if you read the 14th Amendment, as they say, you see it was written as a response to the Dred Scott decision. It's about slaves. It's about the children of slaves. It has nothing to do with the illegal immigrants. Nothing. It even says in there something about under the jurisdiction thereof. That's the phrase I remember, meaning you have to be under the jurisdiction of the country in order to have it. Well, they